Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Carly Stevens. I'm a teacher and author, and this is English Nerd. So, if you're in the middle of your first book or your fifth book or whatever it is, very often what I hear is that, oh yeah, I haven't finished yet. I've been working on the same book for years and years. And there is room for a whole lot of different kinds of processes when it comes to writing a book. I mean, I started writing Firian Rising when I was 17, and I didn't finish it until I was 31. So, we all have our different paces and ways of going about things. However, if you really want to finish that book, I have some suggestions for you to finally finish the dang book. So, what to do first is identify the problem. What is the problem? If the problem is time, as it is for so many people who are working or in school or they have kids or whatever it is, there are ways to still get a lot of writing in, even though there is not that much time. I've heard of writers who have a prolific output even though they're super busy. Now, this is not for everybody. I am not a quick release kind of author myself, but if this is something that's going to help you, that's the idea. So here are some ways that you can overcome a time crunch. One is writing sprints. This is how many of the most successful writers tend to work. Not all of them. Again, there are different ways to be successful and to finish books, but writing sprints are great. So that's when you set a timer. Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, whatever amount of time you have. And then during that time, you sprint, you write. So if you are making dinner or something like that and stuff needs to go in the oven for 20 minutes, then let that be your timer. Run over to your laptop and just see what you can get done during that time. If you do writing sprints more often, then you'll get faster at writing, generally speaking, as far as words per minute. And eventually, even if you don't get faster, you'll still make progress, and by virtue of that, you will eventually get to the end of your book. Now, something that works for me and my process, although I'm still kind of figuring out what my process is because it doesn't neatly fall into what I've seen with a lot of other authors, is to binge write. So I'm a high school English teacher, and I tend to be really busy. I'm a YouTuber and a lot of other things, and so I don't always have time to write, or just the energy as well. So what I'll do is, for example, over this past spring break, I sat down for a couple of days and just binge wrote pretty much all day. And I got the end of my newest release, the one that's coming out this summer, Laertes, finished by doing it that way. In the summertime, since I have the summertimes off, at least June and July, I'm usually able to get about 50,000 words done, in primarily June, just because that is a time that I know I have. And so I'm super intentional about trying to take advantage of that time since during the school year, my time becomes much more limited. So if you have a situation like that, then that is an option for you as well. That's how I've been able to put out the books that I have. Another possible issue for you, if it's not time, is motivation. And this is true for me in the summertime. Sometimes I'm not that motivated, but I know that if I don't get things done now, then I won't get them really done at all. And so there are a few ways that I've kind of tricked myself into still writing, even when I am not the most motivated. One way to do that is by cutting to the juicy part. You don't need to write in order. Some people prefer to do it that way, and for the most part, I prefer to do it that way. But I'll hop around, no problems at all. I'll just save those scenes that are very much out of order in a separate document, and then I'll cut and paste those in when it's the appropriate time. Or I know that Scrivener has some nice ways to keep track of those things. I just don't use Scrivener. So Cut to the juicy part. If you are not really feeling the fight scene that you're in, go to the love scene later on. Or if you are feeling kind of stilted with the traveling that needs to happen, then go to where there's some banter and you know that you can do that really well. So sometimes just that will help you to be motivated, will unlock something, and will help you to make progress, even though it's not A to B to C. I mean, you need E, F, G eventually, so might as well just cut to the chase and get that going. Here I'm looking at my notes as usual because I'm an analog type of person. Another thing that I do to improve my motivation is switch locations. I know that I've given this advice before, but it has genuinely really helped. So if I'm here in my apartment and just the ideas are not flowing, and instead I'm looking and thinking about what chores I need to do, and I'm just getting endlessly distracted and there's the TV, then what I'll do is I'll pack up my laptop. If I can, again, this tends to be in the summertime when I'm really doing the majority of my writing. I'll pack it up and I'll go to a nearby coffee shop or bar or restaurant or something, and I will buy myself something immediately before I sit down. And there's some, you have some skin in the game then. You have, you know, your beverage in hand, and you know that you have to sit there until you finished it, and you spend some money to go here. And what happens with me, at least, is even if I go and I'm really unmotivated and I'm just thinking, I don't even know what's going to happen in this scene, as soon as I start, because I feel like I have to, then I'll stay for a good, hour and a half and knock out 1,200 words. And it's like, wow, okay, there was my motivation. I just needed to get started was the main thing. Something else that can also be helpful that is, it's kind of related, is having like a co-working situation. So my sister works from home as well, and so there have been times when she resells things online, so she needs to put all these listings up, and it's time consuming and it's on the computer. And so there have been times when we go to a coffee shop together and we each get coffee, and I work on writing my book, and she works on listing her stuff, and we both end up getting a ton done. Even though we converse a little bit, you need to choose your people. When it comes to this, if you know that they're super chatty, then maybe that's not the best, but we have a really good dynamic of talking a little bit and taking little breaks and that sort of thing, but generally sitting there for a good chunk of time. And I've been amazed at how much I've been able to accomplish just because there's somebody there that is in a way holding me accountable, but also just it's a nice environment to be in, and so I stay and get things done that way. Okay, so another problem that you could have besides time or motivation is ideas. What if you're starting to kind of run out of ideas and those are running dry, and that's why you haven't finished the book? Okay, there are ways to renew those ideas, and one of the things that has worked best for me is taking walks, taking long walks where I'm just listening to music. That gets me away from screens and things that just kind of stuff your mind, and instead gives you the freedom to let your mind kind of wander. And I have come up with so many things on these walks, and so what I'll do is I'm just listening to my playlist. Usually I have a playlist for whatever book I'm writing, and I'll just pause and I'll open up the notes section of my phone and I'll write in the note, and sometimes I'll get parts of scenes written that way. Sometimes it's just bullet points of random ideas, but I get so many ideas that way just because my mind is free. It's kind of like when you have those shower thoughts because there's nothing else to really distract you. So that's a great way to get new ideas. Another one is to read. Sometimes I feel completely just dried out of words and ideas, and I think everything that I could possibly put on the page would be stale and horrible. And so I'll read something that it doesn't even need to be in my genre. And if it's well written, especially, then it can give you these great ideas for characters or fresh descriptions or plot points or just things that kind of fill you back up with the possibility of what words and stories can do. And that can sometimes be enough to start fueling ideas as well and make you feel nice and refreshed. Another, if your problem is ideas, that has been just a complete lifesaver for me is brackets. So I've mentioned this on the channel before. Brackets are the best because if I know that there's a part to the chapter that's not really working, or it's like everybody's talking and the dialogue's fine, but it's like their head's in a white room, then I will put in brackets whatever I'm not able to come up with at the moment. So, he escapes somehow and runs off, or add some setting description later on so they're not just floating in a void. Reword this paragraph later, that kind of thing. So these notes to self about what to add or change. And that way I don't just agonize about those things in the moment, and it allows me to move forward. And then later, when I feel like I have the wherewithal to actually complete that, then I'll go back. I've done that with entire scenes before that I know need to be in there, and those are just the very last thing that I write at the very end, once I have a view of the book as a whole. So brackets are incredible when you don't have that many ideas. And then finally, another one is lists or writing about writing. Basically, write some notes. If you don't feel like you have the ideas to make your story work, then start writing about what needs to happen next, or what the characters are like, or just make notes about it. You're not writing the book exactly, you're just writing about the story, but it can generate these ideas that you can later implement into the story itself. So that has been a lifesaver for me as well. I'm passing along a lot of different things that have worked for me, and I know that not all writers are the same and not all writing advice works for everybody. So if one of these just does not work for you at all, try something else. Maybe the other thing will work. Something is going to work for you eventually to finish this book if you really want to finish. And then the final problem that sometimes stops people is self-doubt. And there's not like an easy magic wand solution for self-doubt. But I would say that the more you write, the better you tend to get. I definitely have seen that with myself. I thought my first book was pretty good, but then I wrote my second book and my third book, and I look back at my first and I go, no, I actually got a lot better over time. And I hope that I continue to get better over time. And that just comes with practice. And even if you don't end up publishing the book that you're writing, finishing is such a great exercise and something to be really proud of, even if you know deep down that it's not, the best, most impressive work. I mean, chances are it's not going to be, especially before you've dug in and edited it. So try to be kind to yourself. I mean, if you manage to finish a book, gosh, how many people just talk about that and don't actually do it? But you have this passion, you've done this labor of love, and you've completed something that is, published or not, really a feat that you can be proud of. So there are places to look to kind of get yourself pumped up as far as self-doubt goes. Self-doubt, it's part of the writer's experience. It kind of comes and goes. I tend to be a pretty confident writer, but I have days, I have days every now and then when I do feel a lot of self-doubt, like, oh gosh, what is this? Who's gonna actually like this? And like I said, I'm a pretty confident writer most of the time. I feel good about what I know, what I've done, and all of that. So again, just try to be kind to yourself and know that nobody is exactly where they want to be. We're all on this journey of improving little by little, and all you can do is your best, and all you have is now. So if you have any other suggestions about how to finish the book, especially if you have finished a book and you use some tactic that I did not mention here, then please put that down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more English nerdy goodness, hit the notification button, and I will see you next Monday. Bye.